The screaming started before the flames did. I was 3 blocks away when I heard the crash, metal twisting, glass shattering, the kind of sound that makes your blood stop. I'd just finished my double shift at Dino's, my apron still smelling like burned coffee and cheap marinara. My feet ached, my tips barely covered tonight's groceries. But I ran. The Brooklyn Bridge intersection was chaos. Cars scattered like frightened animals. People shouted, phones out, recording instead of helping. And in the center of it all, a black SUV, flipped on its side, smoke pouring from the engine like a living thing. That's when I heard her. A child, crying. My legs moved before my brain could stop them. I shoved through the crowd, ignoring the heat radiating off the wreckage. Someone grabbed my arm. Don't be stupid, but I ripped free. The flames were spreading fast. I could see her through the shattered window, a little girl, maybe 7, trapped in her seatbelt, blood streaking her face. Her tiny hand reached toward me through the smoke. I wrapped my jacket around my fist and tore at the jammed door. The metal scorched through the fabric. My lungs screamed. I couldn't breathe. Didn't matter. The door gave way. I grabbed her, yanked the seatbelt until it snapped, and pulled her against my chest. She was so small, so light. Her fingers dug into my shoulders like claws. I ran. Behind us, the SUV exploded, a roar of heat and light that threw us both forward onto the wet pavement. My palms shredded on asphalt. The girl sobbed into my neck, her whole body shaking. That's when the engines came. Black cars, sleek, expensive, moving like sharks through water. They surrounded us in seconds. Men poured out, suited, armed, faces carved from stone. I tried to stand, to shield the girl, but my legs wouldn't work. Then he stepped out, tall, sharp-suited, a face that belonged on Roman marble, beautiful and cruel in equal measure. Dark hair slicked back, a scar near his temple, eyes the color of winter storms. He moved through his men like they were ghosts. Dropped to his knees beside us. "Isabella," he whispered. His voice was rough silk. The girl stirred weakly. "Papa." His hands steady, gentle, lifted her from my arms. For a second, his eyes met mine. Something passed between us. Recognition, calculation, fear. One of his men aimed a gun at my head. I was too exhausted to flinch. The man raised his hand. The gun lowered. He carried his daughter to one of the cars, then turned back. The city noise faded. It was just him, standing over me, blocking out the streetlights. "Who are you?" My throat burned. "Nobody." His jaw tightened. "Nobody doesn't run into fire." He studied me for a long moment, the kind of look that memorizes every detail. Then he leaned down, close enough that I smelled leather and gunpowder. "You saved my blood," he said quietly. "That means you belong to me now." Before I could respond, he was gone. The convoy pulled away, leaving me kneeling on the wet street, sirens wailing in the distance. I didn't know his name yet, but I'd just met the devil of New York. The paramedics wrapped my hands in gauze. I barely felt it. Police surrounded me, badges flashing, questions firing like bullets. "What did you see? Did you know the family? Did anyone threaten you?" I told them the truth. I saw a child. I helped. That's all. But their faces said they didn't believe me. 2 detectives stood apart from the others, whispering. I caught fragments, Bianchi family, organized crime. She's involved now whether she knows it or not. My stomach twisted. One of them approached, older, gray-haired, tired eyes. Detective Morris. He crouched beside me, voice low. "Miss Romano, that little girl you saved? Her father is Matteo Bianchi. Do you know that name?" I shook my head. He sighed. "He runs half the illegal trade on the East Coast. Drugs, weapons, money laundering. The Bianchi syndicate doesn't make headlines because they're too smart to get caught. And you just saved his most precious asset." The world tilted. I didn't know. "Doesn't matter what you knew." His eyes were kind but firm. "You're on their radar now. That can go 2 ways. Either they reward you, or they silence you." He pressed a card into my bandaged hand. "If anyone from that family contacts you, call me immediately. Don't go anywhere alone with them. And for God's sake, Don't think you can say no." He walked away before I could ask what he meant. By the time they let me go, news vans had arrived. Cameras pointed at me like accusations. A reporter shoved a microphone in my face. "How does it feel to save a Mafia princess?" And I shoved past her, heart hammering. My phone buzzed. Texts from coworkers, old friends, people I hadn't spoken to in years. The video was everywhere, shaky footage of me pulling Isabella from the flames, collapsing on the street, Mateo's men surrounding us. They were calling me a hero. I felt like prey. I took 3 trains home, checking over my shoulder the whole way. My building looked the same cracked brick, flickering streetlight. The bakery below closed for the night. Safe. Normal. I climbed the stairs to my apartment, hands shaking as I fumbled with my keys. Inside, I locked the door, checked the locks twice, pulled the curtains shut. My mother's voice drifted from her bedroom. "Lucia? That you?" "Yeah, Mama. Just me." I didn't tell her what happened. She had enough to worry about. I stood in my tiny kitchen, staring at my burned palms, replaying his words. "You belong to me now." What did that mean? I wanted to believe it was just gratitude. A powerful man's dramatic way of saying thank you. But Detective Morris's warning echoed in my head. They reward you, or they silence you. I didn't sleep that night. And when morning came, I went to work like nothing had changed because what else could I do? I wasn't important enough to run. Wasn't rich enough to hide. So I poured coffee, took orders, smiled at regulars who'd seen the news and stared at me like I'd grown a second head. I told myself it was over. But deep down, I knew. The fire on the bridge wasn't the end of something. It was the beginning. He walked into Dino's diner exactly 24 hours later. Not Mateo, but someone who carried his shadow. The man was older, silver-haired, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit that cost more than my yearly rent. A scar sliced down his chin like a signature. He moved through the diner with quiet authority, ignoring the curious stares. He sat in my section. I approached slowly, notepad trembling in my bandaged hands. "What can I get you?" He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "Coffee, black, and 5 minutes of your time." My pulse spiked. "I'm working. I'll pay for the shift." He slid an envelope across the table, thick, heavy, and the next 10, I didn't touch it. "Who are you?" "Luca Ferraro. I work for Matteo Bianchi." His voice was smooth, rehearsed. "He'd like to thank you personally for what you did. Tonight, 7 o'clock. Tell him I don't need thanks." Luca's smile widened. "Miss Romano, let me be clear. This isn't a request. Mr. Bianchi doesn't extend invitations lightly. Refusing him would be unwise." The diner suddenly felt too small. My coworker Jenny was watching from the counter, eyes wide. "And if I say no anyway?" Luca tilted his head, considering. "Then I'd worry about your mother. Rose, isn't it? Street Vincent's Hospital, 3rd floor. Cancer treatment's expensive. It would be a shame if her insurance suddenly became complicated." Ice flooded my veins. He wasn't threatening outright. Didn't have to. The message was crystal clear. 7 o'clock, I whispered. "Smart girl." He stood, left the envelope on the table, and walked out. I stared at the money more than I made in 3 months. Blood money, gratitude wrapped in chains. Jenny rushed over. "Luce, who was that?" "No one." I shoved the envelope in my apron. "Just a customer." But my hands wouldn't stop shaking. At 6:45, a black car pulled up outside my building. I'd changed into my only decent dress, navy blue, second-hand, slightly too big. My mother had asked where I was going. I lied. Said a friend needed help. She didn't believe me, but she was too tired to argue. The driver opened the door without a word. Inside, the car smelled like leather and wealth. Luca sat across from me, reading something on his phone. "Where are we going?" I asked. "Mr. Bianchi's residence. Manhattan." We crossed the bridge, the same one where everything changed. I stared at the intersection, now cleared, no trace of fire or blood, like it never happened. But I still felt the heat on my skin. Manhattan rose around us, glass towers, lights glittering like stars. We turned onto Riverside Drive, stopped in front of a building that didn't advertise itself. No doorman. Just a discreet entrance and a camera above the door. Luca led me inside. The elevator required a keycard. We rode in silence to the top floor, the penthouse. The doors opened directly into the apartment, and I forgot how to breathe. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Hudson River. Black marble floors. Modern art on the walls, the kind museums fought over. Everything sharp, clean, expensive, and empty. "Wait here," Luca said, disappearing down a hallway. I stood frozen, terrified to touch anything. My reflection stared back from the dark windows, small, out of place, a stain on silk. Footsteps echoed. He appeared from the shadows like something conjured. Matteo Bianchi. No bodyguards, no theatrics. Just him dressed in a black shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows, watching me with those winter storm eyes. "Miss Romano," he said quietly. "Thank you for coming." I swallowed hard. Did I have a choice? His lips curved, not quite a smile. "No," he gestured to the seating area. "Sit. We have much to discuss." And I realized leaving wasn't an option either. I didn't sit. Matteo noticed. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes, amusement, maybe, or irritation. "You're afraid of me," he said. "Should I be?" "Most people are." He moved to the bar, poured 2 glasses of something amber, offered me one. I shook my head. He set it down anyway. "You saved my daughter's life. I don't know how to repay that." "You don't have to." "Yes," he said softly. "I do." He reached into his jacket, pulled out an envelope thicker than the one Luca had left. He placed it on the table between us. $50,000, enough to cover your mother's treatment and give you a fresh start. I stared at it. 50,000, more money than I'd ever seen. "I can't take that." His jaw tightened. "Why not?" "Because I didn't do it for money." My voice was steadier than I felt. "I did it because she needed help. That's all." Silence stretched between us, heavy, dangerous. Then he laughed. It wasn't warm. It was the laugh of a man who'd forgotten what genuine kindness looked like. "You're either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid." He picked up his glass, studied me over the rim. "People who say no to me don't usually live long. But you interest me." "I'm not interesting. I'm just a waitress." "You ran into a burning car," he said quietly, "while everyone else ran away. That's not nothing." He stepped closer. I forced myself not to retreat. "Let me ask you something, Lucia." My name and his accent sent chills down my spine. "Do you know what happened that night? Why my daughter was in that car alone? Why it crashed?" I shook my head. "Someone tried to kill her." His voice went cold. "Someone wanted to send me a message written in my child's blood. And you, a stranger with no reason to care, stopped them." His eyes bored into mine. "So yes, you belong to me now. Because you're tied to this whether you want to be or not. The people who tried to kill Isabella know your face. They've seen the news. And they will come for you." My heart hammered. "Then let me disappear. I'll leave New York. They'll find you." He cut me off. "But if you're under my protection, they won't touch you." "Protection?" I laughed bitterly. "You mean control. Call it what you want." He finished his drink. "Luca will check on you regularly. If anyone approaches you, you call him immediately." "I don't want this." "What you want," he said softly, "stopped mattering the moment you pulled Isabella from that fire." He walked to the window, hands in his pockets, silhouette sharp against the city lights. "You can go. The money's yours whether you take it tonight or not. Luca will drive you home." I grabbed the envelope not because I wanted it, but because my mother needed it. Survival eclipsed pride. At the elevator, I stopped, turned back. "Your daughter, is she okay?" Matteo's shoulders tensed. For a moment, he looked less like a Mafia don and more like a father holding on by a thread. "She won't speak. Nightmares every night. The doctors say it's trauma." He glanced at me. "She asked about you, the woman who saved her. She wants to see you again." Something cracked in my chest. "I'm not part of your world," I whispered. He turned fully, eyes locking onto mine. "You are now." The elevator doors closed between us, and as the car drove me back to Brooklyn, I realized the truth. I hadn't saved Isabella that night. I'd chained myself to a devil, and there was no escaping hell. They started watching me 3 days after the penthouse. I noticed them during my morning shift. A man in a dark coat nursing the same coffee for 2 hours. Different face by lunch. Another by dinner. Always alone. Always staring. "You got a stalker or something?" Jenny asked, refilling the sugar dispensers. "Just paranoid," I lied. But I wasn't. Mateo had put guards on me. I felt them everywhere, shadows in my peripheral vision. Cars idling too long outside my building. Footsteps that stopped when I stopped. And then there was Luca. He came every afternoon at 3, sat in the corner booth, ordered nothing, just watched. Sometimes he'd leave before I could approach. Other times, he'd slide an envelope across the table without a word. The 4th time, I pushed it back. "Stop. Your mother's treatment is expensive," he said calmly. "Mr. Bianchi wants to help. I don't want his money. You took it once." His eyes were flat, emotionless. "What's changed?" "Everything. Nothing. I didn't know anymore." "Tell him I said no." Luca smiled, that cold, reptilian smile. "I don't think you understand how this works, Miss Romano. When Matteo Bianchi decides to help someone, refusing is insulting. Then he can be insulted." I walked away, heart pounding. But the next day, the hospital called. My mother's entire outstanding balance cleared. Every test, every medication, every specialist consultation, paid in full. I called the number Luca had given me. He answered on the first ring. "I told you no," I hissed. "And Mr. Bianchi told you yes." No emotion, no apology. "Your mother's health isn't a negotiation, Lucia. Accept the gift or don't, it's already done." He hung up. I stood in the diner's back alley, hands shaking, tears of frustration burning my eyes. He'd trapped me, not with threats, not with violence. With kindness I couldn't refuse. That night, I visited my mother. She looked better, color in her cheeks, sitting up, smiling. The nurses said her latest scans showed improvement. "Someone paid everything," she whispered, squeezing my hand. "Lucia, who did this? Was it your father's family?" I forced a smile. "Just a grateful customer." She didn't believe me, but she was too relieved to push. Walking home, I felt the weight of it. Every step I took deeper into Matteo's world was a step I couldn't take back. The money. The protection. The surveillance. I was free in name only. And the worst part? I wasn't sure I wanted to escape anymore. I tried to pretend nothing had changed. Wake up, work, go home, repeat. But Matteo's world bled into mine like ink in water. It started small. A drunk customer got too handsy, grabbed my wrist, pulled me close. Before I could shout, someone grabbed him, one of the men who'd been watching the diner. Tall, tattooed, expressionless. He didn't say a word, just twisted the drunk's arm until something cracked. Dragged him outside. I heard shouting, then silence. The man came back in, straightened his jacket, and sat down like nothing happened. Jenny stared. "Who the hell was that?" "I don't know." Another lie. But it kept happening. A guy dealing drugs near my building, gone overnight. The landlord who'd threatened eviction for late rent, suddenly apologetic, offering extensions. A group of teenagers who'd been harassing me on my walk home, vanished. My life smoothed out in ways that felt wrong. Too easy. Too controlled. I wasn't being protected. I was being managed. One night, I confronted one of the watchers, a younger guy, maybe 30, leaning against a lamppost outside Dino's. "Why are you following me?" He didn't flinch. "Making sure you're safe." "I didn't ask for that." "Mr. Bianchi did." He said it like that ended the conversation. "Does he own everyone around me now?" The man's expression didn't change. "He owns everything that matters. You're under his protection. That means anyone who touches you answers to him." 5. I'm not his property. He almost smiled. "Tell him that." I stormed away, furious. But beneath the anger was something else, something I hated admitting. I felt safer. Brooklyn at night had always been dangerous. Catcalls, muggings, Worse. I'd learned to walk fast, keep my head down, avoid eye contact. But now, the streets parted for me. Men who used to leer looked away. The city felt different. Because I carried Mateo's shadow, and people feared it. That Saturday, I went to the corner store for groceries. The owner, Mr. Park, greeted me with a nervous smile. "Miss Romano, please, take whatever you need, no charge." I frowned. "Why?" "I was told to take care of you." He wouldn't meet my eyes. "By who?" He didn't answer. I left the money on the counter anyway. Walked out, chest tight. This was suffocating. Every act of kindness felt like a chain. Every gesture of protection, a leash. I wasn't Lucia Romano anymore. I was Matteo Bianchi's girl, and the city knew it. Back in my apartment, I stared at my phone. His number was saved. Luca had made sure of it. "In case of emergency," he'd said. I typed a message. Deleted it. Typed again. "I need to see you." Sent before I could stop myself. 3 dots appeared immediately. "Matteo, tomorrow, 7 p.m. No question, no negotiation. Just certainty. This time, I wasn't escorted. Luca texted me the address, the keycard code, told me to come alone. I almost didn't go, but I needed answers. Needed to look him in the eye and understand what game he was playing. The elevator ride felt longer than before. My reflection stared back, tired eyes, defiant jaw, a girl pretending to be braver than she was. The doors opened. Matteo stood at the window, silhouette sharp against the twilight. He didn't turn. "You wanted to see me." His voice was low, controlled. "You're ruining my life." That made him turn. One eyebrow raised. Interesting accusation from someone whose mother is alive because of me. "I didn't ask for that." "You didn't have to." He moved closer, hands in his pockets. "You saved Isabella. I pay my debts." "By controlling everything around me?" My voice rose. "By making people afraid to charge me for groceries? By having men follow me everywhere? By keeping you alive?" His tone sharpened. "Do you think the people who tried to kill my daughter just gave up? They know your face, Lucia. They know you're connected to me. And they will use that. Then let me go. Let me disappear." He laughed cold, humorless. "Where would you go? Brooklyn? They'll find you in a day. Another city? A week. You think you can hide from people who've been hunting for decades?" I hated that he was right. He stepped closer, towering over me. "You're safer in my world than out of it. Accept that." "And what do you get out of this?" I challenged. "Why do you care if I live or die?" Something flickered in his eyes. "I don't know yet." The honesty stunned me. He turned away, pouring himself a drink. "You have questions. Ask them." "Why me? There were dozens of people at that crash. Why am I the one you're protecting?" "Because you didn't hesitate." He swirled the amber liquid. "Everyone else watched. You acted. That kind of instinct is rare, valuable." "I'm not valuable. I'm nobody." "Stop saying that." His voice went hard. "You ran into fire for a stranger. You refused my money twice. You're standing in my home, challenging me, when most people can't meet my eyes. You're not nobody." The air between us felt electric. "What do you want from me?" I whispered. He drained his glass, set it down with deliberate care. "I don't know that either." He moved past me toward the hallway. "Isabella asks about you every day. She doesn't speak to anyone else. Not the therapists, not the nannies. Just draws pictures and cries." He stopped at the doorway. "Come tomorrow. Spend time with her. If you want to repay me, that's how." "And if I say no?" He glanced back, expression unreadable. "You won't." I came back the next day. Not for him. For her. The penthouse felt different in daylight, less fortress, more home. Toys scattered in the corner. Children's books stacked on the coffee table. Evidence of a little girl living in a world too dangerous for innocence. Luca led me to a sunlit room overlooking the river. Isabella sat at a small table, coloring. She looked up when I entered. Those wide, dark eyes, so much like her father's, locked onto mine. Recognition flickered, then fear. "Hey, sweetheart," I said softly, kneeling beside her. "Remember me?" She nodded slowly. "I'm Lucia." I was there the night of the accident. Her lip trembled. She looked away. I didn't push. Just sat beside her, watching her color. She'd drawn a car black, surrounded by red and orange scribbles. Fire. My chest tightened. That's a beautiful picture, I lied. She shook her head. Put down the crayon. I reached for a blank page. Can I draw with you? Hesitation. Then a tiny nod. We drew in silence. I sketched simple things. Flowers, stars. A smiling Sunday. Childish, clumsy. She watched me. Curiosity replacing fear. After a while, she picked up a blue crayon, drew a wobbly heart next to my sundae. That's perfect, I whispered. She smiled. It was small, fragile, but real. I didn't hear him approach. Matteo stood in the doorway, watching us. How long had he been there? Isabella saw him and tensed. He noticed I saw the flash of pain in his eyes before he masked it. Papa, she whispered. Ciao, Piccola. His voice softened in a way I didn't know it could. He stepped inside, movements careful, like approaching a wounded animal, knelt beside her. You're drawing? She nodded, showed him the page, our combined artwork. It's beautiful. He looked at me. Something unspoken passed between us. Isabella tugged his sleeve, pointed at me. She stays? Her voice was so quiet I almost missed it. Matteo's jaw tightened. If she wants to. Two pairs of dark eyes turned to me, and I realized I'd already made my choice the moment I walked into that fire. I'll stay, I said. Isabella's smile widened. She threw her small arms around my neck, squeezing tight. Over her head, Matteo watched me. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes, for the first time, I saw something other than ice. Gratitude, relief, longing. Later, after Isabella fell asleep on the couch, Matteo walked me to the elevator. Thank you, he said simply. She's a sweet kid. She never smiled, not since. He trailed off. Until today, we stood in heavy silence. Come back tomorrow. It wasn't a command, it was a question. I hesitated, then nodded. As the elevator doors closed, I saw him standing there, a powerful man brought to his knees by his daughter's happiness, and I wondered who was really trapped here, him or me. It became routine. Every afternoon, I'd finish my shift at Dino's and take the train to Manhattan. Luca would be waiting in the lobby. We'd ride the elevator in silence. Isabella would light up when I arrived. We'd draw, read stories, play with her dolls. Simple things that felt monumental because she laughed now, spoke in full sentences, started sleeping through the night. Matteo watched from the margins, working in his study, taking calls in Italian that sounded like threats. But every so often, I'd catch him in the doorway, observing us with an expression I couldn't name. After 2 weeks, he made the offer. Stay. I was washing dishes from Isabella's snack. Matteo leaned against the counter, arms crossed. What? Move in, officially, be her caretaker. I dried my hands slowly. I have a job, a life. I'll pay you triple what you make at the diner. You'll have your own room, full access to the penthouse. And you'll be here when she needs you. She has nannies. She doesn't trust them. His voice was firm. She trusts you. I wanted to say no. Every logical part of my brain screamed run. But Isabella's laughter echoed from the other room. And my mother was healthy because of him. And Brooklyn felt emptier every night I went back. This is temporary, I said. Until she's better. He nodded. But something in his eyes said he didn't believe me. Temporary. I moved in that weekend. 1 suitcase. That's all I owned that mattered. My room was bigger than my entire Brooklyn apartment, floor-to-ceiling windows. A bed that felt like sleeping on clouds. A bathroom with heated floors. Luxury I'd never imagined. And a cage I couldn't see the bars of. Luca helped carry my things. At the door, he paused. Word of advice, Miss Romano. I tensed. What? No one leaves the Bianchi household on their own terms. His eyes were colder than I'd ever seen. Not staff, not enemies, not women Matteo cares about. He doesn't care about me. Luca smiled thinly. Keep telling yourself that. He left me standing there, heart pounding. That night, I couldn't sleep. I wandered the penthouse silent, dark, filled with shadows. Mateo's study door was cracked. Light spilled out. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. He sat at his desk, head in his hands, whiskey glass empty. He looked tired, human, the weight of his world pressing down. He sensed me, looked up. Can't sleep? Big bed, I said lamely. A ghost of a smile. You'll get used to it. I should have gone back to my room. Instead, I stepped inside. Why are you doing this? I asked. Really? He studied me for a long moment. Because for the first time in 3 years my daughter feels safe. And I don't know why, but I'm not losing that. She feels safe because she survived, not because of me. No. He stood, moving closer. She feels safe because you saved her. There's a difference. We were too close. I could smell his cologne, cedar and smoke. This won't end well, I whispered. I know, but neither of us moved away. The note appeared 3 days later, slipped under my door in the middle of the night. White paper, black ink, block letters. You're not safe in his house. My blood turned to ice. I checked the locks secure, checked the hallway empty, checked my phone, no messages. Someone had been inside the penthouse, had walked right up to my door. While I slept, I should have told Mateo immediately, but I didn't, because I didn't know who to trust. The next morning, I watched everyone carefully. Luca moved through the penthouse like he owned it, confident, controlled, too comfortable. Did he write it? The housekeepers avoided eye contact. The security guards were stone-faced. Any of them could have done it. Or maybe it was someone outside, a rival, a threat. I tucked the note into my pocket and tried to act normal. But paranoia crawled under my skin. That afternoon, Mateo left for a meeting. Luca went with him. I was alone with Isabella and the staff. I took her to the rooftop garden, her favorite spot. We played hide-and-seek among the potted trees. When I turned to call her, I saw him. A man. On the building across the street, watching through binoculars. He lowered them when I noticed. Disappeared behind a door. My stomach dropped. I grabbed Isabella. We're going inside. But now. I carried her down, locked the rooftop door behind us. Called Matteo. He answered immediately. What's wrong? Not a question. A demand. Someone was watching us. From the building across the street. Silence. Then. Get Isabella to the panic room. Code is 0714. Do it now. I'm 10 minutes away. The line went dead. Panic room. Jesus. I found it behind a false wall in Mateo's study, reinforced steel, stocked with supplies. Isabella didn't cry. She'd been trained for this. That broke my heart more than anything. We waited in silence. Isabella curled in my lap, drawing on a notepad someone had left inside. I stroked her hair, heart hammering. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, the door opened. Mateo filled the entrance, gun in hand, expression murderous. They're gone, he said flatly. For now. He holstered the weapon, knelt beside us. Isabella, did you see the man? She shook her head. He looked at me. Did you? Only from far away. He ran when I noticed him. Mateo's jaw clenched. He pulled out his phone, made a call in rapid Italian. I caught fragments: surveillance, rooftop access, eliminate. When he hung up, his eyes met mine. You're sleeping in the room next to mine tonight. Both of you. Mateo. No arguments, Lucia. His voice was steel. If someone's watching this place, they're not getting close to either of you again. That night, I lay in the guest room beside his master suite, listening to his footsteps pace back and forth. He was hunting, and I wondered, was I bait, or was I something worth protecting? The screaming woke me at 3 a.m. I bolted from bed, heart hammering, and ran to Isabella's room. She thrashed in her sheets, crying, hands clawing at invisible flames. Isabella, I gathered her in my arms. You're safe. I'm here. She sobbed against my chest, small body shaking. Mateo appeared in the doorway seconds later, barefoot, gun in hand, eyes wild. When he saw it was just nightmares, his shoulders sagged. Same dream? He asked quietly. I nodded. He sat on the edge of her bed, holstering his weapon, reached out to stroke her hair. She flinched. The pain in his eyes was unbearable. "I'll stay with her," I said softly. He hesitated, then left without a word. It took an hour to calm her down. I sang lullabies my mother used to sing, rubbed her back, promised her she was safe. Finally, her breathing evened out. "Lucia?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "I'm here, sweetheart." That night, in the car, she curled tighter against me. "I remember something." My chest tightened. "What do you remember?" She was quiet for so long I thought she'd fallen asleep. Then, Uncle Luca was there. I froze. "What?" "Before the crash, I saw him, standing on the street corner, watching us." Ice flooded my veins. "Are you sure?" She nodded against my shoulder. "He had his phone. He was talking to someone. Then he looked at our car, and smiled." My hands trembled. "Isabella, did you tell your father?" I tried, but I couldn't remember the words. It was all fuzzy, like a bad dream. But this wasn't a dream. This was a memory. "Does Uncle Luca scare you?" I asked carefully. Another long pause. "Sometimes. He looks at Papa like he's angry, but hiding it." I held her tighter, mind racing. Luca, Matteo's most trusted man, his brother in everything but blood. Could he have orchestrated the crash? Could he have tried to kill Isabella? "Go to sleep, sweetheart," I whispered. "Everything's going to be okay." But as I sat there in the dark, listening to her breathe, I knew nothing would ever be okay again. I couldn't sleep after that. Isabella's words circled in my head like vultures. Uncle Luca was there. He smiled. It could have been innocent. He could have been nearby by coincidence. But coincidence didn't exist in Matteo's world. The next morning, I watched Luca carefully. He moved through the penthouse like always, calm, efficient, respectful. Brought Matteo his coffee. Reviewed security reports. Answered calls in clipped Italian. Nothing seemed off. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I was watching a performance. That afternoon, I was in the library looking for books for Isabella when I heard voices from Matteo's study. The door was cracked. I knew I shouldn't listen. I did anyway. "Need to move faster." Luca's voice, low and urgent. "The Romano family is getting impatient." My blood turned cold. The Romano syndicate, Matteo's biggest rival. The family everyone suspected was behind the assassination attempt. "Then tell them to wait." Matteo sounded irritated. "I'm not rushing this." "Matteo, they've already paid half." I said no. Finality in his tone. "We do this my way or not at all." Silence. Then Luca, quieter. "And the girl, Lucia?" My heart stopped. "What about her?" Matteo's voice went dangerous. "She's becoming a distraction. You're getting attached. That's not your concern. It is when it affects your judgment." Luca's tone sharpened. "You never would have hesitated before. But now, enough." Matteo cut him off. "Lucia stays. End of discussion." Footsteps approached the door. I fled down the hallway, heart hammering, barely making it around the corner before Luca emerged. He paused, looked in my direction. I held my breath. After a moment, he walked away. That evening, I pretended everything was normal, played with Isabella, made small talk at dinner. But when Matteo's phone rang and he stepped away, I followed Luca to the kitchen. He was pouring coffee, back to me. "Isabella remembers the night of the crash," I said quietly. His hand stilled. "Does she?" "Not a question. She said you were there, before it happened." He turned slowly. His expression was perfectly neutral, and that terrified me more than anger would have. Children's memories are unreliable after trauma. His voice was smooth. "The mind fills in gaps with familiar faces." "Is that what happened? Her mind filled in gaps?" He stepped closer. "Miss Romano, I've served this family for 15 years. I've bled for Matteo. I've killed for him. If you're implying..." "I'm not implying anything." I held my ground. "I'm telling you what she said." His eyes went cold. "Then perhaps you should be more careful about planting ideas in her head." He walked past me, shoulder deliberately knocking mine. And I knew. Isabella wasn't wrong. I told Matteo that night. He was in his study, reviewing contracts. I closed the door behind me, locked it. He looked up, immediately alert. What's wrong? Isabella remembers the crash. His entire body tensed. What did she say? She saw Luca, standing on the street corner before it happened, watching the car, smiling. I expected shock, denial, anger at the accusation. Instead, he went completely still. And you believe her, he said quietly. I overheard him on the phone today, talking about the Romano family, about unfinished business. Matteo's jaw clenched. You're accusing my oldest friend of trying to murder my daughter. I'm telling you what I heard, what Isabella saw. I stepped closer. Matteo, I know what he means to you. But you don't know anything. His voice was ice. Luca saved my life in Palermo. He stood beside me when everyone else ran. He held my wife's hand when she died. Or maybe he's the reason she died. The words escaped before I could stop them. Matteo's hand slammed down on the desk. Get out. Matteo. Get out. Fury blazed in his eyes. Before I say something we both regret, I left, hands shaking. But an hour later, his door opened. He stood there, face drawn, holding a tablet. Show me where you heard him. Hope flared. The study. Around 3 o'clock. He pulled up security footage. We watched in silence as Luca entered the study, made a call, spoke in rapid Italian. Matteo's expression darkened with every word. What's he saying? I whispered. He's confirming a meeting, with Romano's underboss. Matteo's voice was hollow. About finalizing a transfer of power. The air left the room. He scrolled back further, found footage from the night of the crash, exterior cameras near the intersection. There, in the corner of the frame, Luca, standing exactly where Isabella said, phone to his ear, watching the SUV approach, watching it crash, and walking away. Matteo's hands trembled. The tablet clattered to the floor. 15 years, he whispered. He's been with me for 15 years. I touched his arm. He didn't pull away. What do we do? I asked. His eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw them empty of everything but cold, calculated rage. We end this. Matteo moved fast. Within an hour, every exit was locked. Every guard loyal to Luca was removed. The penthouse became a fortress. Luca was summoned to the study. I watched from the hallway through the cracked door. Matteo had insisted I stay hidden. He's dangerous when cornered. Luca entered, relaxed, unsuspecting. You wanted to see me? Matteo stood behind his desk, hands clasped. How long? Luca's smile faltered. How long what? How long have you been selling me to the Romanos? The air turned to ice. Luca's expression didn't change. But his eyes. They went from warm to reptilian in a heartbeat. Matteo. Don't. Matteo's voice was deadly quiet. I have footage. Phone records. Bank transfers to offshore accounts. He stepped around the desk. You tried to kill my daughter. She was collateral damage. Luca's mask dropped completely. The crash was meant for you. Isabella surviving was. Unfortunate. Matteo's fist connected with Luca's jaw before I could blink. Luca stumbled back, laughing through blood. There he is, the monster. I was wondering when he'd show up. Why? Matteo's voice broke. After everything. Because you're weak. Luca spat blood on the floor. You've gone soft, building legitimate businesses, talking about going clean. You're not the man I followed out of Sicily. So you thought you'd take over. I thought I'd save the empire from your sentimentality, Luca straightened. And I would've, if that waitress hadn't pulled Isabella from the fire. His eyes found mine through the crack in the door. There she is, the saint who ruined everything. Matteo moved to block his view. You're done, Luca. Am I? Luca smiled coldly. You think I came here without insurance? One call from me, and the Romanos burn this building to the ground. With your precious girls inside. He pulled a phone from his pocket. Matteo's gun was out in a flash. Put it down. Make me. They stared at each other, two brothers who'd become enemies. Then Luca ran. He crashed through the window in an explosion of glass, dropping to the fire escape below. Gone. They came at midnight. I woke to the smell of smoke and the sound of gunfire. Lucia! Mateo's voice roared through the hallway. I threw open my door. Flames climbed the walls, gasoline, spreading fast. The penthouse was burning. Isabella. I ran to her room, ripped her from bed. She screamed, confused, terrified. Cover your mouth! I wrapped her in a blanket, lifted her. Mateo appeared, gun in one hand, phone in the other. Blood streaked his shirt, not his. Service elevator. Now. He led us through the smoke, firing twice at shadows in the haze. Bodies littered the hallway. His guards. Luca's men. I couldn't tell anymore. The elevator wasn't working, cut power. We took the stairs. 3 floors down. Someone was waiting. Gunfire erupted. Mateo shoved us behind a corner. Returned fire. The shots were deafening in the enclosed space. Isabella sobbed against my chest. Go! Mateo shouted. Garage level. Black SUV. Key in the ignition. Don't stop for anything. I'm not leaving you. Go! I ran. Down, down, down. My lungs burned. Isabella was getting heavier. The smoke followed us like a living thing. We burst into the garage, found the SUV. I strapped Isabella into the back seat, hands shaking. Started the engine. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Luca emerged from the shadows, gun raised. Going somewhere? I threw the car in reverse. He fired the windshield spider-webbed. Isabella screamed. I floored it, tires screeching. Luca dove aside. We crashed through the garage gate onto the street, metal shrieking. Behind us, the building burned against the night sky, and Mateo was still inside. I drove 3 blocks before I stopped, shaking so hard I couldn't hold the wheel. Isabella cried in the back seat. I climbed back, held her. Papa, she sobbed. Where's Papa? I didn't know. I pulled out my phone with trembling hands. Called him. It rang, and rang. Then, Lucia. His voice was rough, breathless. You're alive. Where are you? 3 blocks south. Mateo, we need to go back. No, drive to the address I'm sending. Don't stop. Don't trust anyone. Mateo. I'm coming for you. I promise. Just stay alive until I do. The line went dead. An address appeared on my screen. I wiped my tears, started the engine, and drove into the dark. The address led to an underground parking garage in Midtown. I killed the lights, coasted down the ramp. Every shadow looked like an enemy. Then I saw him. Mateo, leaning against a concrete pillar, blood soaking through his shoulder. Relief crashed through me. I parked, ran to him. You're hurt. It's nothing. He caught my face in his hands. Are you okay? Is Isabella? We're fine. I touched his shoulder. He winced. You need a hospital. No hospitals. Too many eyes. He glanced at the SUV. We need to move. Luca knows all my safe houses except one. He led us to another car, nondescript, stolen plates. We were climbing in when headlights flooded the garage. Luca's voice echoed off concrete. Did you really think it'd be that easy? Mateo shoved me toward the car. Get Isabella out of here. I'm not. Now. But I couldn't move. Luca walked into the light, flanked by 3 armed men. His face was a mask of cold fury. It's over, Mateo. The Romanos own your territory now. Your men have switched sides. You've got nothing left. I have them. Mateo's gun was steady despite his wound. That's enough. Luca's laugh was bitter. You'd die for a waitress and a broken little girl? Without hesitation, they stared at each other. Then Luca raised his gun, aimed at me. Let's test that. Everything slowed. I saw his finger squeeze the trigger. Saw Mateo lunge forward. Heard the shot. And moved. I shoved Mateo aside with everything I had. His eyes widened. No. The bullet hit me below the ribs. Fire exploded through my chest. My legs gave out. Mateo caught me before I hit the ground, his roar of anguish echoing through the garage. More gunfire. Shouting. But it sounded far away. I stared up at him, his face blurred, desperate. Don't you dare, he choked. Don't you dare die on me. I tried to speak. Couldn't. His hand pressed against the wound, trying to stop the bleeding. Too much blood. Too fast. Lucia, Lucia, stay with me, please. Isabella's crying sounded like music. At least she was safe. At least I'd saved them both. Darkness pulled me under, and the last thing I felt was Matteo's tears on my face. I woke to birdsong. That was wrong. Cities didn't have birdsong. I tried to move. Pain lanced through my side. I gasped. Easy. His voice. Rough, exhausted. Don't move yet. I forced my eyes open. Matteo sat beside the bed unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, hand wrapped around mine like I might disappear. Where? The Catskills, my safe house. He brushed hair from my face. You've been unconscious for 4 days. 4 days. Isabella. Safe. Sleeping in the next room. His thumb traced circles on my palm. She hasn't left your side except to eat. Relief flooded me. Then memory crashed back. Luca. Dead. Matteo's voice went flat. After you went down, my backup arrived. He tried to run. Didn't make it. Good. You saved my life, he whispered. Again. I tried to smile. Someone has to. His composure cracked. He pressed his forehead to our joined hands. I've built an empire on violence. Killed hundreds without hesitation. Destroyed anyone who threatened me. His voice broke. But watching you fall, watching your blood on my hands, I would have burned the world to bring you back. Matteo. He looked up, eyes raw. My wife died because I wasn't careful enough. Because I trusted the wrong people. Because I thought I could have both the empire and love. He cupped my face. But then you walked into my life. Ran into fire without thinking. Smiled at my daughter like she wasn't the child of a monster. Made me remember what it felt like to be human. Tears slid down my cheeks. I don't deserve you, he whispered. But I'm selfish enough to want you anyway. Then keep me. His kiss was gentle, reverent, desperate, grateful. When he pulled back, his eyes held something I'd never seen before. Hope. You saved my daughter. You saved me. His voice was steady now. I can't let you go. Won't. Even if you ask. I smiled through tears. Good. Because I wasn't going anywhere. The safe house was buried in the Catskill Mountains, stone and wood, surrounded by pine trees and silence. No guards, no staff. Just us. Healing was slow. The bullet had missed vital organs, but my body remembered the trauma. Every breath ached. Every movement was a negotiation with pain. Matteo became someone I didn't recognize. He changed my bandages with steady hands. Brought me soup he'd made himself badly, but the effort mattered. Sat beside my bed, reading aloud when the nightmares came. Always the nightmares. Fire. Smoke. Luca's gun. The feeling of falling. I'd wake gasping, and he'd be there solid, real, whispering in Italian until my breathing slowed. What are you saying? I asked one night. That you're safe, that I have you, that nothing will touch you again. His voice was a prayer. Isabella healed too, in her own way. She colored constantly, not cars and fire anymore, but flowers and sunshine. She talked more, laughed easier. At night, Matteo would carry her to bed, read her stories in Italian, his voice soft in ways I'd never heard. I watched from the doorway one evening. He sat on the edge of her bed, book in his lap, Isabella's small hand in his. C'era una volta una principessa coraggiosa. Once upon a time, there was a brave princess. Like Lucia, Isabella interrupted. Matteo glanced at me. Something vulnerable flickered in his eyes. Yes, he said quietly. Just like Lucia. Isabella smiled, drifting to sleep. He stayed until she was fully under, then carefully extracted his hand. Stood, saw me watching. We didn't speak. Just walked to the living room where a fire crackled in the stone hearth. He poured 2 glasses of wine, handed me one. You're good with her, I said. I wasn't always. He stared into the flames. After her mother died, I couldn't. I didn't know how to be both father and monster. So I became only one. You're not a monster. I've done monstrous things. To protect her, To survive. I touched his arm. That doesn't erase the man who reads bedtime stories and makes terrible soup. A ghost of a smile. It was pretty bad, wasn't it? The worst. We sat in comfortable silence, firelight dancing across his face. For the first time since I'd met him, Matteo Bianchi looked at peace. When this is over, he said quietly, when it's safe again, I want to show you Sicily, the village where I grew up, the ocean, the life I had before all this. And Isabella? She'd love it. Running on beaches. Learning her grandmother's language properly. He looked at me. Building memories that aren't soaked in blood. I leaned against his shoulder. He wrapped his arm around me. That sounds beautiful. Then we'll go. He pressed a kiss to my temple. The three of us. And for a moment, I let myself believe in that future. The peace lasted 3 weeks. I was in the kitchen making coffee when Matteo's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, face darkening. What? News crews. Outside the property line. He pulled up security footage on his tablet. 3 vans. Reporters with cameras. Police cruisers behind them. My stomach dropped. How did they find us? Someone talked. Or someone tracked us. He was already moving, grabbing weapons from hidden compartments. Either way, we have maybe an hour before they're at the door. What do we do? He stopped, looked at me. We run. Again. I have contacts in Montreal, connections in... No. The word came out stronger than I felt. No more running. Lucia. You've spent your entire life running or fighting. When does it end? I stepped closer. They want a story? Give them one. The Mafia boss who saved the waitress who saved his daughter. Make it so boring they lose interest. You don't understand how this works. Then explain it to me. I crossed my arms. Because I'm tired of hiding. Isabella's tired of hiding. And I think you are too. He stared at me like I'd suggested jumping off a cliff. Then, slowly, his expression shifted. You want me to cooperate? With police? I want you to be smart. I softened my voice. Luca's dead. His men are scattered. The Romanos have no proof you've done anything recently. Give them the story they want: reformed criminal, devoted father, legitimate businessman. And if they dig deeper, then we deal with it. Together. The word hung between us. Together. His jaw tightened. Then he pulled out his phone, made a call. Tell them I'll give 1 interview. 1. And only about the night of the accident. He paused. And Lucia Romano is off limits. Threaten her or Isabella, and the deal's off. He hung up, looked at me. This is either brilliant or suicidal. Let's hope for brilliant. An hour later, Detective Morris walked through our door, older, grayer, but sharp-eyed as ever. He nodded at me. Miss Romano, you've been hard to find. I've been recovering. His gaze shifted to Matteo. Mr. Bianchi, I'm here to ask questions about Luca Ferraro's death and the fire at your Manhattan residence. Matteo's expression was stone. Self-defense. He attacked my home with armed men. I defended my family. Multiple witnesses confirm that. Morris pulled out a notebook. But I need to know, is the Bianchi organization still operational? Silence stretched. Then Matteo said something I never expected. No. I'm dissolving it. Selling the illegal operations to competitors, legitimizing the rest. As of last week, I'm out. Morris's eyebrows rose. Why? Matteo glanced at Isabella playing in the next room, at me standing beside him. Because I'm done losing the people I love to this life. Morris studied him for a long moment, then nodded. I'll be watching. But, good luck. He left. And Matteo exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for years. I should have known it was too easy. That night I was reading to Isabella when I heard it. Glass breaking, downstairs. Matteo was in the shower. I grabbed Isabella, pressed my finger to my lips. Stay quiet, sweetheart. Her eyes went wide, but she nodded. I crept to the hallway, phone in hand. No signal, someone had jammed it. Footsteps on the stairs, slow, deliberate. Then his voice. Matteo, come out, come out. Luca. But he was dead. Matteo had seen him fall. Bulletproof vest, Luca called, like he'd read my mind. You taught me that trick, remember? I pushed Isabella into the closet. Don't come out no matter what you hear. Tears streamed down her face. Lucia, I love you, remember that. I closed the door, stepped into the hallway. Luca stood at the top of the stairs, bruised, bloodied, but very much alive, gun in hand. There's the saint. His smile was broken glass. Where's your devil? Right here. Matteo emerged from the bedroom, dripping wet, gun raised. They stared at each other across the hallway. This ends now, Matteo said quietly. Finally, something we agree on. Luca's gun swung toward me. But first she dies, just like your wife died, and you'll know exactly how it feels. Everything slowed. I saw Matteo's finger tighten on the trigger, saw Luca's do the same, and I moved. I lunged at Luca, not away, grabbed his gun arm, threw my weight against him. His shot went wild. We crashed into the wall. You stupid. I need him hard. He doubled over. Matteo was there in a heartbeat, ripping Luca away from me, slamming him to the floor. They fought like animals, brutal, desperate. Blood splattered the walls. Luca's gun skittered across the floor. I grabbed it. Enough. They froze, both staring at me holding the weapon. My hands shook, but my voice didn't. It's over, Luca, you lost. He laughed, spitting blood. You don't have the stomach for it, sweetheart. You're too good. You're right, I am. I glanced at Matteo. But he's not. I tossed him the gun. Matteo caught it, rose, stood over the man who'd been his brother. Any last words? Luca's smile was venom. See you in hell. I'll be waiting. The shot echoed through the house. Luca's body went still. And finally it was over. Matteo dropped the gun, pulled me into his arms. We stood there, shaking, holding each other while the reality set in. The closet door creaked open. Isabella peeked out, tears on her face. Matteo scooped her up immediately, turning her away from the body. Don't look, Piccola. Don't look. I joined them, wrapping my arms around both. We stood in the hallway, broken, bloody, but alive. A family forged in fire. We left that night. Matteo called in favors, had the scene cleaned, the body disappeared. By dawn, it was like Luca had never existed. We drove to a different safe house, a cabin deeper in the mountains, somewhere truly hidden. Isabella fell asleep in the back seat. I carried her inside, tucked her into bed. When I came back out, Matteo stood on the porch, staring at the stars. I joined him. You okay? I killed my oldest friend tonight. He stopped being your friend the moment he tried to kill Isabella. I know. His voice was hollow. Doesn't make it easier. We stood in silence. Then he turned to me. I need to tell you something, and I need you to hear all of it before you decide. My heart stuttered. Decide what? Whether to stay. He took a breath. I've done terrible things, Lucia. Things I can't take back. I've hurt people, destroyed families, built my empire on blood and fear. His eyes met mine. I'm not a good man. I know. But you, his voice cracked. You walked through fire twice for my family. You stood between me and a bullet. You looked at a monster and saw something worth saving. He stepped closer, cupping my face. You are the best thing that's ever happened to me. You and Isabella, you're my redemption, my second chance, my reason to try to be better. Tears blurred my vision. I love you. The words were raw, desperate. I don't deserve to, but I do. Completely. Irrevocably. Matteo. You don't have to say it back. I know I'm asking you to accept a complicated, dangerous life, but I swear to you I will spend every day trying to be the man you deserve. The father Isabella deserves. I'll leave the underworld completely. Build something clean. Give us a real future. He pressed his forehead to mine. Stay with me, please. I couldn't speak past the emotion choking me, so I kissed him instead. Poured everything into it, all the fear, the love, the desperate hope that we could make this work. When we pulled apart, I whispered, I love you too. I tried not to. Tried to tell myself it was gratitude or Stockholm Syndrome or insanity, but it's not. I held his face. You're ruthless and controlling and terrifying, But you're also the man who reads bedtime stories and makes terrible soup and would burn the world for his daughter. You're both. And I love both. His eyes shone. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. He kissed me again, slower, deeper. A promise. Then stay, he murmured against my lips. Stay and build this life with me. Be Isabella's mother. Be my partner. Be my family. Yes. I smiled through tears. Yes to all of it. And under the stars we held each other, finally believing in forever. 3 days later, my phone rang. The hospital. My mother. My hands shook as I answered. Miss Romano, your mother's condition has deteriorated. The cancer has spread. Without aggressive treatment. The doctor paused. I'm sorry. We're talking weeks, maybe. The world tilted. Matteo found me on the porch, staring at nothing. What happened? I told him. He listened in silence. Then, I'll handle it. The best oncologists, experimental treatments, whatever she needs. Money isn't an issue. Matteo, you've already done so much. She's your mother. That makes her family. He took my hand. Let me help. I wanted to refuse. Wanted to maintain some shred of independence. But I couldn't watch her die when there was hope. Okay? The word felt like surrender. Okay. Within hours, my mother was transferred to a private facility in Westchester. Top specialists. Cutting-edge treatment. I sat beside her bed, holding her frail hand. She looked at me with tired but knowing eyes. Who is he? This man paying for all this? I couldn't lie to her. Someone I saved. And who saved me back? You love him. Not a question. I nodded. She squeezed my hand. Is he good to you? He's complicated, dangerous. But yes, he's good to me. And he has a daughter who needs me. She smiled weakly. Then don't come back for me, Lucia. Go. Build that life. Be happy. Mama. I'm dying, sweetheart. We both know it. The treatment might buy time, but... She cupped my face. I've watched you sacrifice everything for me for years. Now it's your turn to live. Tears streamed down my face. I can't just leave you. You're not leaving. You're choosing joy over obligation. There's a difference. Her eyes were fierce, despite her weakness. Promise me. Promise you'll choose him. Choose that little girl. Choose the life you deserve. I promise, I whispered. She pulled me into a hug. Good. Now go. Stop wasting time on a dying woman when you have a family waiting. I drove back to the cabin as sunset painted the mountains gold. Matteo and Isabella were outside, playing. She chased him around the yard, giggling. He pretended she was faster, let her catch him, scooped her up spinning. They looked so happy, so whole. Matteo saw me, set Isabella down, walked over. How is she? Fighting, like always. I smiled through tears. She told me to choose you, to stop living for her, and start living for me. His arms wrapped around me. And what do you choose? I looked at Isabella, then back at him. This, you, her, all of it. Even knowing my past, my world? Especially knowing it, because you're leaving that world behind. For us. He kissed my forehead. For us, he repeated. Isabella ran over, crashing into our legs. Group hug. We laughed, pulling her up between us. And I realized this was home. Not a place. Not Brooklyn or Manhattan or the mountains. Them. 6 months later, I stood on the balcony of Matteo's rebuilt penthouse, watching the sun set over New York City. So much had changed. The underworld connections severed. The illegal operations sold or dismantled. Matteo had become what he'd always hidden behind. A legitimate businessman. Investments, real estate, clean money. It wasn't perfect. Old enemies still whispered threats. The past didn't disappear overnight. But we were free in ways that mattered. Behind me, Isabella's laughter rang out. She was 8 now, healed in ways the doctors called miraculous. Therapy, time, and love had stitched her back together. She had friends now, went to school, drew pictures of rainbows instead of fire. My mother was in remission against all odds. She lived in a comfortable apartment nearby, visited weekly, spoiled Isabella relentlessly. Everything I'd thought impossible had become real. Arms wrapped around me from behind. "What are you thinking about?" Matteo's voice was warm against my ear. "How different everything is. Better? So much better." He turned me to face him. 6 months of peace had softened him in beautiful ways. He smiled more, laughed easier, held Isabella without the weight of guilt crushing him. "I have something for you." He pulled a small box from his pocket. My breath caught. He opened it. A ring, simple, elegant, a single diamond that caught the dying light. "I know we've done everything backward. Met in fire, fell in love in chaos, built a family before we even knew each other's middle names." His smile was crooked. "But I'm asking now, properly. Lucia Romano, will you marry me?" Tears spilled over. "Yes, God, yes." He slipped the ring on my finger, kissed me deep and slow. "Papa's kissing Lucia," Isabella's voice, delighted, from the doorway. We broke apart, laughing. She ran over, inspected the ring. "Does this mean Lucia's staying forever?" Matteo crouched beside her. "If she'll have us." Isabella threw her arms around both of us. "Please, stay forever." I hugged her tight. "I'm not going anywhere, sweetheart. I promise." Later, after Isabella was asleep, Matteo and I returned to the balcony. The city glittered below millions of lives, millions of stories. "I told you once," he said softly, "that rare things don't stay free for long." I leaned into him. "I remember. I was wrong." He tilted my chin up. "You were never meant to be captured. You chose to stay. And that's worth more than anything I could have taken." I smiled. Maybe I never wanted to be free. Maybe I just wanted to be chosen, protected, loved. "Then I choose you. Every day. For the rest of my life. And I choose you, both of you, this life, this family." He kissed me as the city lights blazed around us. And I thought about that night running into fire, saving a little girl, meeting a devil who became my salvation. Life doesn't ask what you mean to do. It just burns everything you know to ash and waits to see if you'll walk through the fire again. I did. And on the other side, I found everything. The end.